All right. Welcome back, everybody. It's good to have you back. We are going to be starting our next session, which is going to be an update on the Education Planner BC initiative. Some of you may or may not know that EPBC has a long history that is shared with BCCAT. Way back in 2004, when I first started at BCCAT, we had just assumed responsibility for a project that was called Opening Doors BC, which was a planning website that was aimed at helping students find information about programs available in BC. We quickly rebranded the website as Education Planner, and that became one of our sister resources along with the BC Transfer Guide that we managed for a number of years. Simultaneous to that, our colleagues at BC Campus were running a common application service called Apply BC, which was responsible for the applications for the majority of institutions that are in BC. Back in 2015, the two services were merged and they were rebranded as Education Planner BC. And with that, it's my pleasure to welcome Karen McCredie, who is the Interim Executive Director of EPBC, who is going to give us an update on what's going on with EPBC and where it's going. Enjoy.
Hello, I'm Karen McCredie, Interim Executive Director at Education Planner BC. Thank you for joining me today for an update on the work that is going on at Education Planner BC and some of our plans for the future. Today, I'll share with you who Education Planner BC is and how we define our purpose. I'll also share with you a bit about our background as we have grown out of somewhat unique circumstances, and it helps explain where we are today and how we are set up for the future. Together, we will look at the services that Education Planner BC provides to our various stakeholders. I'll identify where our growth areas have been and where our areas of focus and attention are at the moment. Then I'll spend some time looking at how we are connecting to and preparing for our future and the future of BC post-secondary sector and our stakeholders. As this is a recorded session, there will be time at the end for questions. I'll be monitoring the chat throughout the session, so please feel free to log questions or comments as we go through the presentation. Often Education Planner BC is talked about as being relatively new, but in reality, we've been around in different iterations for many years. I'm going to take you on a quick trip down memory lane. Back in 1996, the first iteration of electronic transfer exchange had begun in BC. By 2004, these services were under the oversight of BC Campus. In 2010, not only was BC hosting the best Olympics ever, but we were also moving to the new XML system for transcript delivery, sending transcripts not only within BC, but also a few institutions were sending transcripts to the Ontario University Application Centre. BC's Common Application System was an idea that came to life in 1992 through a collaboration of sector representatives and the BC government. The system itself went live in 1996. At that time, the system was called PAS-BC, a name some of you may remember and stands for the Postsecondary Application Service of British Columbia. Alongside PAS-BC, a searchable database of post-secondary programs named Explore was developed and shared with every BC secondary school via CD-ROM. Shortly afterwards, it went to an online version. In 2004, PAS-BC was transferred to BC Campus, and Explore, then called Opening Doors, was transferred to BCCAT. BCCAT immediately made improvements to functionality and user experience and renamed the service Education Planner. By 2012, Education Planner was a very well-known and heavily utilized resource, receiving over 1 million visits annually. In 2011, PAS-BC was renamed Apply BC, aligning its name to our neighbors in Alberta, Apply Alberta. In response to the needs of the sector, Apply BC was undergoing significant internal changes and improvements. Fast forward to 2015, we're under the vision of the Ministry of Advanced Education, Skills and Training. These systems were brought together as Education Planner BC as a way to best serve BC's post-secondary sector and its applicants. Since 2015, our purpose has been defined as providing a centralized resource for students transitioning to BC post-secondary education. As you will see when I go into a deeper discussion about each of our service areas, Education Planner BC meets students and their supporters early on in their inquiry stage and guides them all the way through to the submission of their application. We support BC students through three key service areas: application services, data exchange services, and engagement services. We have continued on our original mission back in 1992 of providing a centralized application system for the BC post-secondary institutions. Of course, the technologies have changed and we've been enhanced to meet the growing needs of post-secondary institutions' admissions process. Features have been added throughout the years. Some relatively new features include document uploading, relational questions, institutional branding throughout the application, and a PDF application summary saved to the student's account for future reference. We currently have 21 of our 25 public post-secondary institutions fully on board, and we're currently working with UBC and the University of Victoria for their scheduled 2021 launches. This past year, we saw over 100,000 applications move through our system and expect that number to grow significantly with two of our largest post-secondary institutions joining us next year. We are transitioning from calling our transcript services area to be calling it our data exchange services, as our thinking grows beyond the standard transcript as the only form of student data. Education Planner BC is pleased to be PESC XML compliant, and we are committed to maintaining strong data standards for all of our services. As I'm sure the entire audience of BCCAT GEM is well aware, BC is a highly mobile province. With the support of BCCAT, BC students can move between institutions in a confident and informed way. With student movement comes data movement. We've been working closely with our post-secondary institution partners to support their electronic data exchange needs and are moving transcripts between many of our institutions. Using our XML framework, we integrate directly into the post-secondary institutions' student information systems, which greatly facilitates the work of those institutions and ensures the receipt of secure, fraud-resistant data. Education Planner BC has worked closely with the Ministry of Education to transition their high school transcript system over to our XML system for all BC post-secondary institutions, as well as a few provincial hubs outside of BC. This new system will allow post-secondary institutions to call back to the ministry for updates on their high school transcripts at any time throughout their admission cycle, greatly improving the access that post-secondary institutions have to the data they need to make important and timely admissions decisions. Thanks to the support of the Ministry of Education, this transition is going very well, and we anticipate that the majority of institutions will be on board with fully integrated high school data by spring 2021. Our engagement service area has seen significant growth over the past couple of years. Our advisors have been invited right into high school classrooms to present directly to students in grade 10, 11, and 12 to talk with them about how to begin their search, regardless of where they are starting from. In the past month alone, we have connected through these sessions with almost 600 students, and we're seeing the demand for these sessions grow across British Columbia. We also participate in a wide range of student recruitment fairs, providing a blend of information and guidance to students who don't know where to start or even what questions they should be asking. At career fairs, we assist with aligning education programs to career outcomes. Students often come to us from two different directions. They will ask us, if I take this program, what jobs can I get? Or they ask, if I want this job, what program should I take? We often hear these exact questions from their parents as well. We also work closely with more defined audience groups through events such as Find Your Fit, which helps students discover and explore careers, and through Strengthening Connections, which supports our Indigenous communities. Last fall, we took on a whole new branch of events, this time supporting parents in their role as education and career coaches. Often parents find themselves needing a refresh or an introduction to post-secondary education. These sessions help parents understand the current post-secondary environment and bust some myths that they might have. These sessions have been very successful, and we get an amazing response from parents who say that the information they receive at these sessions have opened up the communication paths in their homes and have allowed them to have engaged and informed conversations with their students. So far this fall, we have met with almost 400 parents and anticipate that by the end of spring, this number could easily grow to more than 3,000. We are excited for our future and see a wide range of opportunities ahead of us. Education Planner BC is launching our first ever spring user group in February of 2021. Our goal for this user group is to connect with our post-secondary institutions and other stakeholders to share information about upcoming projects and to provide opportunities to open discussions to hear back from them on their needs, new areas where we can support them, and their plans for the future. In February 2021, we will also be launching EPBC 3.0. This version of our application service is in many ways rewrites big sections of our technology. EPBC 3.0 will allow institutions to have greater control over their own application. The visual designer functionality will allow institutions to tailor their applicants' experience by providing institutional users the ability to step right into the application and through self-service functionality, build their own questions and arrange them in whatever order makes sense for their institution and their applicants. EPBC 3.0 will also provide institutions with much more rules-based functionality, expanded fee assessment opportunities, access to historical questions, and improved reporting opportunities. We believe that EPBC 3.0 will provide institutions the structures needed to develop a richer institution-specific user experience for their applicants. We will continue to work closely with the Ministry of Advanced Education, Skills and Training and the Ministry of Education to evaluate student-focused integrations inside and outside of the application, including, for example, Student Aid BC, high school transcript ordering, and the BC Services Card. We have also had early discussions with BCCAT about the potential of integrations between EducationPlannerBC and BCCAT's Transfer Guide to improve our joint support of BC students. We've been working closely with the Aruk National Network and are excited about the opportunity to support that network in BC to ensure support for student mobility no matter where they want to go and ensure secure data exchange. As discussed, our engagement service area continues to see strong growth and demand from across the province. We are excited about how the pivot to virtual sessions will open up new ways of engaging with students and their supporters and allow us to meet them where they are and at the time that they need us. We know that rural and northern students don't have the same level of access to events, and we plan to improve that access through some of these new services. We launched a website review earlier this year, engaging with students, high school counselors, and parents to understand how our plan and search sites can better support them. We are now undertaking a significant redesign that will broaden functionality and improve the user experience for students, their parents, high school counselors, and all others. Saying all that, I thought it would be appropriate to show you who is doing all of this great work. This picture is from our staff retreat last fall. Remember the days when we could all get together? I sure miss that. At this point, I am happy to take any questions.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Thank you, and it's my pleasure to welcome to the live room Karen McCredie, who's the Interim Director of Education Planner BC. Just as a reminder, please make sure you push your questions into the chat. So I thought I'd just start off with my first question, which is really just what are some of the developments that you're most excited about with regards to EPBC that people can look forward to in the future?
It's a great question, Mike. I think for PSI users in British Columbia, one of the things that I'm most excited about that's coming up is our EPBC 3.0. It's really a changing point for the organization in the way that we interact with BC post-secondary institutions. It puts the power of the platform right into the hands of the institutions, so they can develop the application that most suits their institution, the culture that they want to develop with their students, and it's a very mobile system. So institutions can add and change questions. They can group questions. They can move questions around to make sure that the application flows in the way that they think best represents their institution and also will best support their students who during the application process. So that's going to be a really big modernization effort on our behalf that will come out starting next spring, and will roll out slowly for institutions as they are ready. The other really exciting thing that we're doing is with the transcript exchange. I think that what COVID has taught us is that being able to ensure mobility of data following the mobility of students is a really important innovation and aspect. For a long time, we thought about data exchange as being really supportive of fraud reduction, but now we know too that we need to be able to move data regardless of who's there to send it and who's there to receive it. So we have been working really closely with the Ministry of Education, and we'll have all of the public post-secondary institutions, or at least the majority of them, receiving that data electronically by next spring. And the real benefit of that system is that institutions can call back to the Ministry of Education and ask for updates. So it's not dependent on the student always needing to submit a new transcript and saying, hey, I've got new grades. It's the institution saying, we're interested in knowing a little bit more about how you're progressing, and they can call to the ministry and get that information. So that, as well as the post-secondary to post-secondary transcript exchange, is really moving along really well, and it's going to benefit all of our users, including the applicants.
Yeah, the transcript exchange was one that we heard a lot about at the registrars meetings and associate registrars. Being able to get that data in a timely fashion from the Ministry of Advanced Education, I think, is going to be a massive improvement to the services in the province. Across the country, there are a number of examples of other application services. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about the way that you're collaborating with some of the other provincial application centers, and are there ways that you can leverage some of the work that they've done, or vice versa, to improve your EPBC, to work on EPBC?
That's great. Yes. So we've been very proactive in our communication with the other application and transcript exchange hubs across across Canada. What we know for sure about post-secondary in general across Canada is that every province is quite unique in the way that they deliver their services. And so while there's other application hubs and transcript exchange hubs, no two are exactly alike. So I think what we learn a lot from each other is our differences and the value of those differences. So, talking to the Ontario University Application Centre, Nova Scotia NSCAT, which does the transcript exchange for Nova Scotia region, really learning about how they're moving their documents, what values they're bringing to their post-secondary institutions, and trying to connect as much as possible. So the work that we're doing with the Ministry of Education internal to BC, we're also expanding out to Ontario and Alberta, and looking to Nova Scotia, so that we're providing that value add of the callback opportunity to the ministry to other regions. And they're really excited about that. And we will have both Ontario University Application Centre and Alberta live with that functionality also by the spring, which benefits the mobility of our students who, for whatever reason, choose to move outside of the province. And we're hoping then to build on a reciprocal opportunities, so that as we draw students into BC from Ontario and Alberta and other provinces, we can provide that same kind of fluidity of student data. So excited about that.
That is exciting. We have a question from the crowd, from Sarah Greelands. The question is, I seem to remember a master institution list project that was begun last year. Are you able to give us an update on the status of that project?
Yep, we certainly can. So it is a lot bigger project than we had originally anticipated. We received data from 4 different data sources and are merging that data together to be able to provide the most accurate and up-to-date and fulsome institution list back to our partners. Anyone who's worked in data understands that data integrity, and Mike, you know this from the work you've done with transfer credit, data integrity is a challenge. And so institutions often will have duplicate data within their own systems. And then when we brought 4 data groups together, we found a lot more duplication than we had originally anticipated. So we are actively working on that even today. And we are on track to getting at least the first version out to our institutions within the next, I think we're saying around a month to 6 weeks to be evaluated and looked at. So yes, we are actively continuing to work on that. Jillian Feist, who's the director responsible for that project, can certainly speak to any specifics if anyone wants to email her directly. There's quite a large group of institutional partners who are working together on that institution list. I think it's called a working group, who can also provide updates on that, but actively working on it.
Yeah, and you know, having worked in data, I can tell you that having a single source of truth is just so critical. And I wonder if you could talk a little bit about how that project is aligning with the PESC GeoCode project. So there is an initiative going around globally about assigning universal identifiers, so that this is not just a BC problem. This is an international problem or challenge, I should say. Opportunity, that's right. Can you talk a little bit about how that project aligns with the GeoCode Initiative?
Yep, so we are keeping a close eye on the GeoCode work that's being done, and are incorporating GeoCodes as an option within the master institution list, so that as that grows and develops, we're not only feeding our information back to the GeoCode platform, but we're receiving information from them, so that an institution who wants to use that as their indicator has the opportunity to insert that into their system. So we are definitely forward focused on the way that we're developing this institution list, so that it's flexible and doesn't like write off or remove the opportunity to incorporate geocodes or other kind of codification that might come in the future.
All right, and actually, just one more question, because I'm definitely interested in this project. Does is this a master list for just post-secondary institutions, or will this include high school as well?
I believe it includes high school as well. Now, Jillian will probably get angry with me for saying that, but I believe it does include. No, it does include high schools for sure. Yes, I know that for a fact. Yeah.
All right, there is a question from Jennifer Lyle, and she says she was in a post-secondary virtual forum a couple of weeks ago and was very impressed by EPBC. Do you have any data on what the uptake has been like? Have these types of sessions been well attended, and are you running any more in the future?
Yes, we are. They have been very well received. We do quite a variety of presentations, and so we are. So we've got a couple different focuses. When we focus on our applicants and students who are planning and preparing, we also focus on our high school counselor group. And so I think that might be the one that she's referring to. And we also have are paying quite a bit of attention to our parents as a group right now. So we have all the sessions that we are providing seem to be taking or getting a lot of interest from those areas. So we've been out with the high school counselors and are getting really good feedback. It's quite an educational opportunity still. You know, it's interesting, the high school counselors who are working, you know, very, very closely with the high school students, that they're getting to know us in maybe a new and different way, and are being able to then therefore support the students in their schools. Conversely, the parents are really taking, those sessions are really taking off. We get huge enrollments for them and really great feedback. What we hope is happening and what we're hearing is happening is that parents, as they're learning a little bit more, whether it's a refresh on what post-secondary is in the province or they're learning for the first time, it's opening up the conversation in their homes so that they can have informed conversation with their students. When the student says, you know, I'm going into grade 11, I want to start thinking about it, but I have nowhere to start. Parents have some kind of understanding of the language of post-secondary, right? So someone who hasn't gone to university or college or an institute, when you say an associate degree, they're not really sure necessarily what that is compared to, you know, a diploma or a certificate or a degree. And so even some of those kind of basic, you know, what we take for granted knowing on a daily basis is helpful and informative for parents. And so we're seeing those really being well attended.
All right, we got a pretty good question here from Somi Chuhan from UBC Vancouver. Would you share more about how you see the BC Transfer Guide being used in Education Planner BC? I'd like to know more about that too.
Yeah. Mike and I tiptoe around this conversation a lot, I think mostly because we both have so much on our plates, but I think really the possibilities are endless. I mean, I'd love to see something where a student can go on to Education Planner BC, upload their transcript from, you know, Langara when they're applying to UBC, and then connect through directly to the transfer guide and say, you know, what does the transfer guide say that UBC will give me if I was going to go there with my Langara transcript? And so it's a great way for, I would think it's a great way for applicants to be able to do a compare and contrast with right in the application. Conversely, I think there's also an opportunity to have a place outside of the application where students can play around a little bit when they're looking at programs and say, oh, if I applied to that program and I was bringing credit from, you know, another institution, how would that, where would I sit in that program, right? So would I go into first year? Would I go into third year? Would I go into, you know, year 2.5? How is that all going to work out for me? So it's a bit of, you know, I think Mike and I have talked about a few different ways, but I think that there's several different opportunities there at different stages for the applicant.
And I'll weigh in a little bit on the BCCAT side of things. You know, all the work that we've done with our technologies is meant to be compatible with our sister agencies. And we've had a lot of discussions with EPBC, but like Karen says, you know, it's about competing priorities in terms of workload. I would love to see, you know, integrations of BC Transfer Guide into Education Planner BC and vice versa. And I mentioned yesterday when we were talking about the TCS suite there and some of the technology roadmap, you know, we are looking to leverage some of the infrastructure that EPBC has in place so that right now there's a module that allows EPBC to interface with your student information systems. We'd love to use that module to update internal transfer tables and vice versa. There's no point in recreating the wheel, especially if there's already a working pipeline that's there. And so I expect that you're going to see a lot more collaborations in the future.
Yeah, maybe next Jam, Mike and I will be co-presenting.
Exactly. All right. Well, we have reached time, so I just want to thank you, Karen, for taking the time this morning for both the live and also the pre-recording. And what I will now just turn to our delegates and let you know that things are really heating up on the photo contest. It closes at about 12:15. There's been some late and really nice submissions. We were saying internally on our team chat that it would be nice if we could vote for some of these photos more than once. But please take a look. You can vote on the mobile app. It closes at 12:30, and we'll be announcing the winners later today. Outside of that, please join us in the virtual rooms, and we will be reconvening at 1 p.m. For a session with Rob Adamowski, Joanne Heslop, and Anna Takina on student mobility. Have a good lunch, everybody.
Thank you.